somebody. No, no, no. Hello. How are you?
But it'll be worth waiting for.
Oh, here's my
Okay, Carl, hit it. First, I gotta tell the drummer what we're doing here, okay?
driving people.
Standing outside the door of love and mercy, you wonder if there's a place there for you. You know there's peace inside, but still you're searching for someone who understands the pain you've been through. Spirit waves with open arms, calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home to our love. You belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in. There is room enough in the home of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home to our love. You belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, welcome home to our love. You belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in.
Good morning. Good morning. Now I liked it how you said, "Okay, Carla," whatever you said, kick it, and then she's like, "No, back to you." Somebody. So welcome to Unity of London. We're grateful that each and every one of you are here. It's important that you're here. It's important to each of us because you get to share who you are with each other. And there's a lot of wisdom in this room. And also to those watching online, we welcome you as well. And we're grateful for your energy added into our place. So we have a few announcements to begin with. And the first one is Alice's memorial is this afternoon. And so if you're planning to go, it's from 1 to 4 at Carlton Heights Optimist Community. And the next announcement, okay, it's our Wednesday evening class with our guest speaker who is here with us today, Dr. Rima Bonario. And it's going to be a fabulous class. Right, Rima? It's going to be fabulous. Energetic Mastery for Living an Aligned Life. And it's from 6:30 until 9. And all of the proceeds, ordinarily when we have a guest, we split the offering for classes 50-50, but Rima has generously said that all of the money will come to Unity, and so we're really grateful for that generosity, and because she really wants everyone to show up and know that you'll be blessed, Unity will be blessed, and of course she will. But she's going to tell us a bit more about that in her talk this morning. The other announcement, well, there isn't a slide for this, but Daniel Namaud, the One Power video that we just showed, we have booked him to be the guest musician, for the Unity Canada Conference. So he's going to be the guest musician for the whole conference, and that's September the 24th to the 28th at Unity Village. If you've never been to Unity Village, the conference is a wonderful time to attend. Martha Creek is going to be there. Some of you have had workshops with Martha Creek, and she's just absolutely wonderful. She really helps us to see how we're showing up and how we can show up better in circumstances. And so she's going to be the guest all day Thursday and half the day Friday. Daniel's going to do a workshop on the Wednesday called Water. He took a 3-month sabbatical into in the Sedona area, and which is a very high kind of energetic vortex area. And he came back having written all kinds of music, and so it's a wonderful workshop. He offered it at the convention that was last month at the village as well. So if you'd like to come to the village, see what it's like, if you'd like to have some great inspiration, musical, and the messages, then I hope that you'll come to the Unity Canada conference. You just have to go to unitycanada.org. The registration is there, all the information. It'd be great to have a big group from Unity of London come down. I know at least a couple board members are going, and of course I'll be there. So so those are the announcements. So this month our focus is claiming truth, and I wanted to share with you from one of two of the standard Unity books, Lessons in Truth, the other being the Bible. So Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady writes, God is the substance, or the real thing, standing under every visible form of life, love, intelligence, or power. Each rock, tree, animal, every visible thing is a manifestation of the one Spirit, God, differing only in degree of manifestation. And each of the numberless modes of manifestation or individualities, however insignificant, contains the whole. So here's what she writes well. One drop of water taken from the ocean is just as perfect ocean water as the whole great body. The constituent elements of water are exactly the same, and they are combined in precisely the same ratio or perfect relation to each other. Whether we consider one drop, a pailful, a barrelful, or the entire ocean out of which the lesser quantities are taken, each is complete in itself. So we say that each individual manifestation of God contains the whole. Not for a moment meaning that each individual is God in its entirety, so to speak, but that each is God come forth. Each is God come forth. And so I just want you to affirm with me, I have the wholeness of God in me together. I have the wholeness of God in me. Every quality of God is within each and every one of us. Every quality. And so that is the truth. And that's what we're focusing on this month. Claiming truth. So let's stand and sing.
We next week, by the way, is our first anniversary prom tonight, and so I hope you'll come up. We're not expecting you to. And one of the things we tried to do during this year is to find some new songs, and perhaps songs that you might be familiar with, but with a little twist here and there, or maybe without a twist, and have something important that we think is important to say for Unity. Now, this is a tune that was done by a group called the Traveling Wilburys
Now I'm going to jump
years
in
ago.
here.
Yeah.
The text in red is what you guys say.
Yeah. Just climb on, and we'll have a little fun. You'll recognize the song right away. But the message of this song, I thought I should just take a second to explain this, because you might wonder, well, why are you doing that song? Is this still rock and roll song? It's not really. It talks about life, and it talks about the fact that we're all in it to the end of the line. And how we spend that time between now and then is what makes us who we are. So we hope you enjoy. This is George Harrison and the Traveling Wilburys and the War. If I can remember how to go. Lost me one of those weeks. Well, it's alright. When push comes to shove, it's alright. When you find somebody to love, well, it's alright. Everything will work out fine, well, it's alright. We're going to the end of the line. Don't have to be ashamed of the car you drive. End of the line. You've been waiting for that time. End of the line. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring. End of the line, and there are better things. Well, it's alright. Even if you say you're wrong, well, it's alright. Sometimes you gotta be strong. Well, it's alright. Well, good old days. End of the line, when baby comes on Friday play. End of the line, song pray. It's alright. When the push comes to shove, well, it's alright. If you find somebody to love, well, it's alright. Everything will work out fine, well, it's alright. We're going to the end of the line. You don't have to be ashamed of the car you drive. Just be there to be alive. End of the line. Just know Spirit's always by your side. End of the line, be satisfied. Well, it's alright. Even if you're old and gray, well, it's alright. You still got something to say, well, it's alright. Remember to live and let live, well, it's alright. The best you can do is to live, well, it's alright. Riding around in the breeze, well, it's alright. Living the life you please, well, it's alright. As long as you see your way, well, it's alright. Every day's a brand new day, well, it's alright. Riding around in the breeze, well, it's alright. Living the life you breathe, well, it's alright. As long as you see your way, well, it's alright. Every day's a brand new day.
It's all right, we'll give her any song. At the end of the day.
That's a tough act to follow.
Never follow a dog and pony show, you know.
So be gentle today. I have a new script too, so everything is a little bit different today. Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. That means Unity defines prayer as the most highly accelerated mind action known. It is an affirmation of truth and a communion between you and all that is. Through prayer, the mind is renewed and circumstances transformed. If you wish prayer for someone else or yourself, you're invited to use our prayer box right up at the front. Just grab a piece of paper, put their just a first name on it. There's no need to explain the situation, as Divine Mind is all knowing. It'll be prayed over here at Unity by our prayer angels for 30 days, and then sent on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. And also remember, 24 hours a day, you can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where folks have been praying with and for people for over 130 years. If you wish private one-on-one prayer or sharing of healing energy, our prayer chaplains will be available at the back of the sanctuary following the service. Just take a seat on a chair in front of them. And today's prayer chaplain is Dawn. And Dawn, would you please come forward and lead us in a prayer?
Thank you. You can close your eyes if you like. We are grateful for our spiritual powers that bring about spiritual blessings. Thank you for all who are here online with us, and all those who are with us here this morning, who fill this building as their love fills this building. We pray for all those who could be with us because of illness or other commitments. We invite you to whisper the name of anyone for whom you wish us to hold in prayer. We hold in prayer all spiritual gatherings everywhere, as there are many paths to the one. We pray especially for Unity of Vancouver in Vancouver, BC. We thank also for those who are praying for us here at Unity of London. We hold in prayer all those who practice discrimination that they may open their hearts to love. We thank you for the blessings that we will receive from the message that will be shared with us by Reverend Rima Bonario. May we each hear and respond to the message that is meant for us. As we are blessed with divine powers, we are abundantly grateful. Amen.
Thank you, Doug. And now for a message from the Daily Word brought to you by Silent Unity. Guidance. Divine love and wisdom guide my thoughts, words, and actions. How empowering is it to know that every attribute of God is seeking expression in my life, as me, even in the most ordinary decisions and events. I am called to become more aware of my divine nature and develop its qualities. I release any limiting thoughts and beliefs and attune my mind and heart to the constant flow of ideas from divine mind. My awareness of an infinite present becomes deeper and stronger. Gradually, I learn to rely on the divine love and wisdom that are always available to guide my thoughts, words, and actions. As I fully realize the unfailing power of God, I go forward with renewed faith, vision, and purpose. From Psalm 23, verses 2 and 3, He leads me beside still waters, restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for His name's sake.
One of the things I really love about Unity is that even after that first song, apparently you're going to let me do another one. Thank you very much. I'll just shoot me. One of the great pleasures of having been here for the past year is being able to share some original material with you. And this is a tune that we've done several times over the year, and it's not like we get a million requests for the songs, but we do get people say, "Well, I like that one, we should do that." This one is by far the most popular one we've done.
He's breaking in someone else's teeth.
Yes. It's about being the people that we should be, trying to be people that we should be. And you may not realize it, but for many of us, there's a little friend hanging around who can remind us, if we are mindful, can remind us of who we really should try to be. I believe a dog can be man's best friend for sure. I bet that goes for women too, 'cause a canine's love is pure. You may think a dog cannot take measure of a man, but if you truly know the dog, you know they surely can. Oh, my dog looks up to me, but I don't look down on him. He sees my life for what it is, and me for who I am. I'm sure he sees a better man than I can hope to be, but he reminds me every day to be a better me. He thinks I'm gentle, kind, and generous, compassionate and strong, loving, caring, good at sharing, and knowing right from wrong. If he could talk, I hope my dog would say these things of me. And the person my dog thinks I am is who I try to be. I live my life most every day the best way that I can. I try to prove by what I do that I know where I should stand. But if I ever find myself unsure of what to do, I remember what my best friend thinks, and that will see me through. He thinks I'm gentle, kind, and generous, compassionate and strong, loving, caring, good at sharing, knowing right from wrong. If he could talk, I hope my dog would say these things of me. And the person my dog thinks I am is who I try to be. And the person my dog thinks I am is who I try to be.
Lovely. Okay. So it's my honor to introduce our guest speaker this morning. Dr. Rima Bonario has worked with Reverend Gary Simmons and his wife Jane Simmons, and she works with them to help individuals and churches to help find their unconscious blocks and to live the lives that they desire to live. She's written a book with Reverend Jane and Reverend Kelly Isola, Who Have You Come Here to Be? It's a beautiful book. I have a copy and it's just so well done. She has her doctorate in transformational psychology. She's been in Unity for 25 years. She currently lives in Las Vegas. She's in the area because her daughter is living in London, or she's coming to do the camp. Okay, so her one daughter is starting at the Shakespeare Festival Summer Education Program. Apparently she's an actor, singer, dancer, and so Rima's going to be taking her there this afternoon. And of course Wednesday's class. So she's going to be here Wednesday from 6:30 until 9 to offer this magnificent class. And she's going to be telling us more about that. So let's give her a warm Unity of London welcome.
According to Hindu legend, there was a time when all human beings were gods, but they abused their divinity. And Brahma, the chief god, decided that it was best to take that divinity away and hide it somewhere where they could not find it. So he called a council of the gods together to decide where this divinity should be hidden. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said some of the gods. But Brahma shook his head and said, no, those humans, they will dig all over the planet to find that divinity. Another god said, let's sink it deep in the ocean. But Brahma again shook his head and said, no, the humans will learn to dive and will go searching all over the ocean. So another god said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and leave it there. But again, Brahma said, those humans will search to the top of every mountain and find that divinity. So the gods gave up and said, we don't know where to hide it because it seems there is no place on earth or in the ocean that human beings will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long time, and he said, we will hide their divinity deep in the center of their own beings, because that's where they will not look, inside of their true selves. And all the gods agreed this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since then, humans have been going up and down, all around the earth, digging, diving, climbing, exploring, searching for something which is already within themselves. Have you heard that story before? Yes. Yeah. It's a powerful expression of what we know as truth in unity, that we are the divine on earth. We are a living expression of the one. But sometimes it can be hard to actually feel that and know that and embody that. I was blessed in 2000 to have a very extraordinary experience. It wasn't anything that I tried to make happen, but I was just divinely blessed with this experience of having just been at Unity a very short time. And my minister, Howard Caesar, was getting ready to do a 4-part series on Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements. Wonderful book, highly recommended. So being a star pupil that I was, and probably still am, an overachiever, I decided I better go to the bookstore, buy the book, read it before he starts his talk, so I'll be prepared. And they were out of the book. So I bought his other book called The Mastery of Love, which I also highly recommend. And I had spent the weekend reading it. I was about 4 pages from the end, and I put it down to just think about some things. I'd had incredible insights and ahas all the way through the book. And as I was sitting on my couch in my apartment, something shifted. I don't know what I was thinking about or what I was feeling, or if it was just grace. And my heart just blew open. And I looked out of my window and I saw the trees were swaying. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am the trees. The trees are me. And I had flowers on my coffee table, and I picked up one of the leaves, the petals, and put it on my head. Oh, I have the roses are me. And I just had this complete experience of feeling at one with everything. And I sort of fell over onto the floor and just sobbed in joy for goodness knows how long. You sort of lose track of time in those experiences. And I went on for the next several days to have this incredible experience of seeing myself as everyone and everything that I met. And one of the changes that occurred in me was that all of the places where I normally would have a judgment thought or a separation thought, something that makes me feel different from what I was seeing out there, it shifted, and instead I felt connected. So, seeing somebody driving a Hummer, I had big judgments about people driving Hummers in those days, and instead I said, oh look, I get to drive a Hummer. And then I got to have a pink mohawk, and then I got to wear baggy pants, and then I got to do all these things and have all these experiences. And what I noticed was that as I radiated that divinity, that love, that truth out of my being, it came right back. And I went to the bookstore to get that second book, and noticed the young man checking me out had this, checking me out, taking my money, had this huge smile on his face, and what I discovered was that I had this huge smile on my face, and so it was coming right back. And what I discovered was that I had an experience of embodied bliss, embodied divinity, presence, which I believe is our natural state of being. But most of us have been born into this imperfect caregiving environment called planet Earth, with imperfect people that doesn't necessarily reflect back to us that perfection and that divinity. And so over time, we get conditioned, they call it, to believe that we are not that magnificent being that we truly are. And our sense of presence and bliss sort of gets covered over and tamped down. And so an opening experience like the one I had is one really marvelous way that we can have a correction around that and begin to see ourselves more clearly. But that's not the only way that we can find ourselves called into this work. Some of us might experience living a life that feels a little bit numbed out. I remember having a moment like this talking with my husband in the foyer of our house, and I said, looking at our life from the outside in, this was about 10 years ago or so, I said, our life looks absolutely perfect, and it is. It's amazing, it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. But I just noticed that there's like something between me and my joy. It's almost like I can't quite feel the joy, like there's this little film there. And he said, I know what you mean. And I wonder what that is. I don't know what that is. And sometimes we can be in that space of numbness, too much TV, a little too much wine, maybe some ice cream, a lot of social media, whatever it might be, that keeps us kind of in a little bit of a low-grade numb space until we're tired of that. And it can be that becomes our calling, to step more fully into who we are called to be. Or it can be a painful experience. Many of us have taken the steps to turn a painful experience into a powerful experience for ourselves, one that catapults us into more of who we are, who we've come here to be. And I had an experience just like this in my 50th year. I grew up here in London, Ontario, from the time I was 2 until I was 17. And for a myriad of reasons, my parents moved us the summer before I started my 12th grade. as you might imagine, that's not a very good time for a teenager to move. And we left London and we moved to Houston, Texas, which was an utter and complete cultural shock for me. And I carried around for a long time the longing and the aching of missing what was home for me, the only home I'd ever known. My friends, my life here, my boyfriend, you know, the whole thing when you're 16, 17 years old, what's important in life. But being a good Unity student, I'd done a lot of forgiveness work, I'd done a lot of work on this, and we'd really kind of gotten to a pretty good place about it. But I came back to visit my friends that live here, and it was the first time that I'd driven, so I had my car. So it was a kind of a different experience of feeling like what it might have been like to have become an adult here in London. So I'm driving into town. I've decided to take my husband to go to Old South, where our last home was, to see the home. And we're coming down Richmond Street, and we get to the top of Victoria Park, and I just burst into tears and start sobbing. And you know, I'm driving, right? And he says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine, I'm fine." But the body is a memory factory. And even though I had worked on my thoughts and worked on my heart, there was grief still stored in my body that I wasn't aware of. And boom, it just burst right out. And I had the opportunity then to do additional work to try to integrate and resolve that sense of longing and wounding. And he said something very profound to me. We actually went up to the house, and the woman that lived there was so sweet. She invited us in, and we got to walk all through the house. It was wonderful. And he said to me after that, "You know, you should come back here next year and stay for a while and leave on your own terms." And so I did just that, and I got a deep amount of healing from that experience. And I did it because the healing came because I was willing to get back into the body of that 17-year-old girl and feel that pain so that it could be moved. Let the energy, it's just a form of energy of that grief, be present in my body, mind, and heart so that I could move all the way through it with all the tools that I have now that I didn't have at 17 years of age. And that is actually my passion, is helping people learn how to embody their divinity and their spirituality so that we can shake loose those pockets of stuck energy, of limiting beliefs, of blocks, of grief, whatever it might be, that keep us from really being the truth of who we are. And a lot of that means doing the work in the bottom 3 chakras. I was delighted to see that picture of the chakras up here. I imagine that you all talk a little bit about the 7 energy centers in the body. Not going to go too deeply into that, except to say I've noticed in New Thought, maybe I'm the only one, but I'll check this out, that we kind of like these top chakras better, right? You know, the heart, the throat, the third eye, all the spiritual stuff. And we sort of want to take our spirituality up and out. But like Brahma, I believe that the real place where we find our divinity is down and in, and into our souls and into our bodies, and we're able to express that. And for years I discounted my body. I thought, what a pain. You know, I like my mind, I like my heart, but man, that body, you gotta water that thing and exercise it, make sure it gets enough sleep. Oh my gosh, what a pain. And, you know, I had reasons why I didn't like to be in my body. I mean, I was one of those kids that grew up with a family where physical reinforcement was one way my parents used to help us know when we were off the path, you know what I mean? So for me, being in my body wasn't a pleasant thing. And lots of us have lots of reasons for avoiding that. The problem is when we aren't able to enjoy being in our body, then the joy and the delight of life is so much less rich and less potent. And I wasn't aware of that. And to the point, we have a little bit of emphasis on that point. So I always love that when that happens. No, it's perfect. So the bottom 3 chakras are where we deal with fear, guilt, and shame. And most of us don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I think today's the day I'm going to tackle that fear, guilt, and shame, right? So sometimes we have to wait for something to happen in our lives to give us the reason to do that. But I discovered that not being willing to tackle those things and be in my body was actually getting in the way of my desire to show up as love that I had experienced that day when I read that book and had that awakening. And I wanted more than anything for that to be my life experience. And I knew I was going to have to get into my body to do it. So one of the things that I've learned in the ensuing years is that our bodies are just a giant electromagnetic energy field. Did you know that? That was new for me. Like everything that's living is an electromagnetic energy field. The earth, the cosmos, each tree, every living thing has its own electromagnetic energy field. And it's the energy that comes before form that gives rise to life. So that's why we work so hard at monitoring our thoughts and having positive, affirmative prayer and opening our hearts, because we know that when we can get our thinking right and our attitude right and our hearts right, our life will be in alignment, right? We know that. However, when we're under stress, that becomes very difficult. Have you noticed that? It's a little harder to be open-hearted. In fact, I would say it is impossible to be deeply open-hearted when our body is in a state of stress or anxiety. And stress and anxiety only happens because we have more energy in our system than it's capable of holding comfortably. That's what my energy teacher taught me, is that it's so great to learn, oh, it's just a matter of having too much energy in my system that I'm capable of handling. So there are a couple of options when that happens. Most of us think the answer is to stop all the people that are increasing the energy in our field from doing that, right? We start looking out there and we want to mess around with things out there. And what I learned is the most powerful practice, rather than doing that, is to work on focusing on expanding my capacity to hold greater and greater and greater amounts of energy with grace and with love. And there is a way to do that. There is a very clear way that you can do that, so that you're not either reacting and acting out. I grew up in an Italian family, so I'm very familiar with that way of dealing with too much energy. Or sometimes we act in, where we repress that and shove it down. Has any of you ever done that? And that's very dangerous. We can get sick, we can get depressed, we can have a lot of self-criticism, self-loathing if we do that. But instead of acting out or repressing, we can reset our nervous systems. And when we reset our nervous systems and we practice building our capacity to hold energy, just as though you were training for a marathon, or even just learning to lift weights very gently, you can become very, very skilled at building your capacity to hold higher and higher amounts of energy. And I don't know about you, but when I look out in the world right now, I see how critical it is that I become more skilled at that, so that as it seems like the crazy gets higher and higher each year, I am more able to stay in a place of love and grace. And especially down south, we're having a lot of crazy right now. So it becomes important for us to really find ways that we can show up in our embodied spiritual presence, to be that walking divinity on the planet that we've been called to be. And so on Wednesday, we're going to spend some time in the evening, and I hope that you will come and join us. And we're going to learn some of these very simple practices that will help you become able to increase the capacity of energy you can hold, so that you can show up in your life no matter what arises and stay in a place of grace and in a place of love. And I truly believe that as we do this, we become walking, healing machines, just being in our presence. If any of you have had the joy of being in the Dalai Lama's presence, you know what I'm talking about. There are certain people who work so hard at shifting their own energy, but when you come into the room, even if it's a room where there's 30,000 people in an auditorium, people report when they've had the chance to be in his presence that the whole building just exudes a feeling of love. And I'm here to tell you that every one of us can create that kind of space when we walk into a room. We can either make it more loving, more beautiful, more graceful, or we can have the opposite effect. Or we can get around someone who's aiming to have that effect on us and not really know how to keep from getting ensnared in their particular mood. So I'm going to close with a story that sort of illustrates this. The villagers in a particular village had heard news that a terrifying warlord was sweeping across the countryside. And every village he came to, he was just wiping out the entire village. And he had a special anger for the spiritual leaders in those villages. And so the villagers were very concerned because they'd heard the warlord was coming, and they had a beloved spiritual leader named Mundra. And they went to Mundra and they said, please leave the village, go hide in the mountains, we don't want anything to happen to you. And he said, no, I'm not leaving. I want you all to leave. You all go and stay away, and I'm going to stay in the village. And so he walked down into the center square of the village and waited for the warlord to arrive. And eventually the warlord and all his army showed up, and he rode right into the center of that village and was filled with anger at the audacity of this man who didn't flee before him. And he dismounted his horse and took out his sword and pointed it right in Mundra's chest and said, how dare you? Don't you know who I am? I can run you through without blinking an eye. And Mundra just lifted his eyes and looked at the warlord and said, well, don't you know who I am? I can be run through without blinking an eye. And the warlord dropped his sword and fell to his knees and begged that Mundra would take him as a disciple so he could learn to be this present and this powerful in the state of love. I truly believe that that is what we are called to do and be in the world. So if you'd like to learn some things that can help with that, please join us on Wednesday. And God bless.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
And as we close our eyes and breathe together, feeling the presence of love in this place and deep within, as you follow your breath, move into that place in you where your divine nature calls home. Feeling the love that you are, and allowing that love to grow and glow all through your heart. And turning up the volume on that love as it moves and expands in your chest to fill your entire body, your torso, all the way down your legs to your feet, all the way down your arms to your fingertips, to the tops of your head, the backs of your ears. You are love. Allow that love to energize and recharge every cell in your being. feel the delightful nature of that love. Allow it to bring a smile to your face. Notice how beautiful it feels to be radiating the love that you are out into this room, to each other, giving gratitude and thanks for this day, for this time together. Allowing that love to glow and grow so that you feel so loving and so lovable and so loved that you become love. And as you feel that love bringing forth as well your own personal power to share that love in the world. It is an empowered love and an embodied love. It is rich and alive. As you enjoy a few moments in the silence, continue to radiate that love, the power of that love in and through and as you. I invite you now to join me in saying, I am so loving. I am so lovable. I am so loved. And I am
Dr. Rima, okay, it's not me. Let's try this again. Are we back? There we go. I'll try that again. Dr. Rima, thank you so much. Welcome back to London. Welcome home. Thank you for sharing your personal experiences. Thank you for the powerful message on our need to have greater capacity for love and positive energy. And thank you for being willing to come back and do a workshop on Wednesday. Thank you. Now it's our time for giving and receiving of tithes and offerings. Our unity principles teach us that we are one with divine source. So we are not giving to source, but as source. Giving has been described as a spiritual practice of radical generosity, giving to what we wish to see flourish. Giving puts us in the flow of divine abundance. By the back door of the sanctuary, on the wall, you will see a rack of intention cards. These may also be placed in the offering bag. This week, our prayer angels will uphold your intentions. That will be an indication of either what you would like to achieve as a plan for your day or for your work. And now let us affirm our prosperity together by singing our offertory blessing.
Find love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is. Well, we have another, no, I have to say thank you to our guests today. That was wonderful. That really was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I don't know if it ties into the song. I think it does. This is another tune that we wrote for Unity. We're inspired by all the stuff that we write. We're inspired by you people. It's not us. We're inspired by you. And this is a tune about going to church on Sunday and then heading out into the world again on Monday was maybe not quite the same mindset you had on Sunday. You know what I mean? And it's my personal belief that that's not a good thing to do. I think we all feel like that. So this is a tune called Live by the Spirit. Sometimes you go to church on Sunday morning and you leave there feeling fine. And then comes Monday morning and your life feels out of line. For the rest of the week it's all the same as you struggle right along. If you don't want to live that way, please listen to this song, 'cause we should live by the Spirit every day. We should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. Now Spirit gives us wisdom to know what we should do, and faith can give us courage to see any challenge through. It's up to us to fill the cup and be the best that we can be. So make the choice and raise your voice and sing along with me, 'cause we should live by the Spirit every day. We should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. There's so much that we can learn, some that we can teach. And the best way to a happy life is to practice what we preach. So buckle down, buckle up, let love sweep you along. Spirit wants what's best for you, so join me in this song. We should live by the Spirit every day. We should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. We should live by the Spirit every day. Yes, we should. We should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. Live by the Spirit every day. We gotta live by the Spirit every day.
Okay, let's bless our offering. So we're grateful for the givers of these gifts. And we're grateful for the way that these gifts are used wisely by this ministry to expand our understanding of truth in everyone who comes here, and then for them to go out and live that truth there's a great ripple effect. And so we are here to do a mighty work. And we're grateful for all those who help us to do that. Amen. Okay, let's stand.
Now, we have another new song this week. Well, Reverend Lord brought this one to us and said, I think you guys might be able to stumble your way through this. And we'll find out if she was right or not. But we think it's a really good tune, and we're really grateful that Lord found it, and we hope you enjoy it too. So just the words are there. The melody is very simple, so just jump in as you feel, and we'll go from there, okay?
You say my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present is what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present is what we're made of. I choose love. We are all part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
That's lovely, lovely, lovely. And so this week we're called to go forth and to remember the absolute truth of who we are. That we are these energetic beings, and that we can, from that place of knowing the truth of who we are, we can expand our love out into the world. And we can show up in whatever is happening, whether it's to the south of us or to the north of us or right here. Whatever is happening, we can stand in that place of being love. So let's pray our prayer for protection, and we'll read it together. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. And the presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is. I am divine. And so it is.
Spread the word of what unity can offer. Spread the word of the message that you heard. Spread the word of what it means in your life. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word of all the things we shared this morning. Spread the word. If you're surrounded here by love, spread the word. Then our doors and hearts are open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word to anyone who's lost and lonely. Spread the word. And we extend our hands of love. Spread the word. And this morning, Lord, we join us. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word of what unity can offer. Spread the